You stand on the deck of a longship cutting through the grey waters of the North Sea, circa 920 CE. The salt spray stings your face as you watch the coastline of England emerge from the morning mist. But you are not here as a raider. You are a trader, your ship's hull filled with amber from the Baltic, furs from the northern forests, and silver from far-off Byzantine markets. This is the world of the Vikings, far more complex than the popular imagination suggests. The term Viking itself comes from the Old Norse Vikinga, meaning one who goes on expeditions. Yet for every warrior who sailed west to raid monasteries, dozens more lived quiet lives as farmers, craftspeople, and merchants across Scandinavia. Archaeological evidence from sites like Birka in Sweden and Hedeby in Denmark reveals sophisticated urban centres where artisans crafted intricate jewellery, merchants negotiated deals spanning continents, and families raised children within remarkably progressive social structures. Consider the woman Taretha, whose existence we know from runic inscriptions on the Dina stone in Norway. The runes tell us she commissioned this memorial for her daughter, and that she was wealthy enough to afford such an elaborate monument. The stone speaks to something profound. In Viking society, women could own property, initiate divorce, and hold significant social influence, rights that would be unimaginable for women in most contemporary European societies. The archaeological record paints a picture of a civilization in transition. At Gamla Uppsala in Sweden, excavations have revealed the remains of what may have been the great temple described in Adam of Bremen's 11th century accounts. Here, according to written sources, sacrifices were made every 9 years during the Great Festival, though we must approach such accounts critically, recognizing the Christian chronicler's potential biases. What emerges from the material evidence is a society struggling between old traditions and new influences. Silver coins from the Islamic world, found in hoards across Scandinavia, tell stories of trade networks stretching from Greenland to Constantinople. These weren't savage raiders, but sophisticated merchants and explorers who established the first European settlement in North America, founded cities like Kiev and Novgorod, and served as the elite guard of Byzantine emperors. The social structure was complex, built around three main classes: the Jarls, nobility; Carls, free farmers and craftspeople; and thralls, slaves. In detail, yet this hierarchy allowed for social mobility in ways that would have been impossible in feudal Europe. A successful trader could rise in status, while a Jarl who lost his wealth might find himself reduced in circumstances. The Icelandic sagas, though written centuries later, preserve memories of individuals who navigated these social currents with skill and determination. You find yourself in a great hall during the winter solstice celebration of Jol, the flickering firelight casting dancing shadows on carved wooden posts depicting intertwined serpents and stylized animals. The air is thick with the smoke of burning pine and the rich smell of roasted meat. This is not merely a feast. It is a sacred time when the boundaries between the world of the living and the realm of the gods grow thin. The Viking religious landscape was far more nuanced than popular portrayals suggest. Archaeological evidence from sites like the temple at Gamla Uppsala and the ritual deposits at Skedemosbog in Sweden reveals a complex spiritual world, where fertility goddesses like Freyja held equal importance to warrior gods like Odin and Thor. Women served as velour seeresses, whose spiritual authority could supersede even that of kings. Consider the ritual described by the Arab chronicler Ibn Fadlan, who witnessed a ship burial among the Rus Vikings along the Volga River in 922 CE. His account, while filtered through his own cultural perspective, provides unique insight into Viking death rituals. The ceremony he describes was elaborate and deeply meaningful to the participants, involving days of preparation, ritual purification, and community participation. What struck Ibn Fadlan most was not brutality, but the profound spiritual significance these practices held for those involved. Marriage ceremonies reflected the sophisticated legal framework of Viking society. Archaeological evidence from Iceland suggests that women entered marriage as legal equals, retaining rights to their property and the ability to initiate divorce. A process as simple as declaring the marriage ended before witnesses. The bride's family provided a dowry, but the groom's family provided a matching bride price, creating economic partnerships between families that extended far beyond the couple themselves. Seasonal festivals marked the agricultural calendar with deep spiritual significance. During Disablot in early spring, communities honored the female spirits believed to protect families and ensure fertility of both land and people. Archaeological remains from Frösa in Sweden include what may be ritual deposits associated with these celebrations, jewelry, tools, and food offerings carefully placed in sacred locations. The transformation from paganism to Christianity was gradual and complex. King Harald Bluetooth's famous runic inscription at Jelling, Denmark, proclaims that he made the Danes Christian, yet archaeological evidence suggests that pagan and Christian practices coexisted for generations. Grave goods continued to be buried with the dead, and Thor's hammer pendants were often found alongside Christian crosses, suggesting a syncretic religious practice that honored both traditions. You sit in the circle of the Ing, the assembly where free men gather to settle disputes and make community decisions. The air is tense as two families present their cases regarding a boundary dispute, their voices carrying across the gathered crowd. This is democracy in its earliest form, not the organized chaos of raiding that dominates popular imagination, but the careful negotiation of community life through legal process. The Ting system represented one of history's earliest experiments in representative governance. Archaeological evidence from Thingvellir in Iceland shows the physical layout of these assemblies. Careful arrangements of stone seats that allowed hundreds of participants to hear and participate in legal proceedings. Free men could bring cases, present evidence, and participate in decisions that affected their communities. Even more remarkably, the Icelandic Althing, established in 930 CE, included provisions for women to bring certain types of legal cases on their own behalf. Social mobility within Viking society defied the rigid hierarchies of feudal Europe. The saga of Egil Skallagrimsson, while literary, reflects historical realities of how individuals could rise through military prowess, poetic skill, or commercial success. Archaeological evidence from burials shows individuals of apparent modest birth buried with wealthy grave goods, suggesting they had achieved higher status during their lifetimes. Women's legal rights in Viking society were extraordinary for the medieval period. The Icelandic law codes, preserved in manuscripts like Gragas, detail women's rights to inherit property, initiate divorce, and serve as legal guardians for their children. Archaeological evidence supports these legal provisions. Women's graves often contain the keys that symbolize their authority over household resources, and some contain weapons, suggesting roles that extended beyond domestic spheres. The institution of slavery was central to Viking society, yet even this operated within specific legal and social frameworks. Thralls could earn or purchase their freedom, and their children might be born free if the circumstances were right. Archaeological evidence from urban centers like York shows diverse populations, including people of African and Middle Eastern origin, suggesting that Viking communities were more ethnically diverse than often assumed. Trade networks stretched from Greenland to the Black Sea, creating wealth that transformed Scandinavian society. Silver from the Islamic world flowed north in exchange for amber, furs, and slaves. Archaeological hoards from Gotland contain thousands of Arabic coins, testament to the volume and sophistication of these commercial relationships. Individual merchants could accumulate enormous wealth. The Spillings hoard, discovered in 1999, contained over 14,000 silver objects weighing more than 67 kilograms. You wake before dawn in a longhouse in 10th century Iceland. the dying embers of the central hearth providing the only light and warmth against the bitter winter cold. Around you, 3 generations of family sleep on benches built into the walls, their breath visible in the frigid air. This is daily life for most Vikings. Not the adventure of raiding, but the quiet struggle of survival in a harsh northern climate. Archaeological excavations at sites like Lance Aux Meadows in Newfoundland and the Oseberg ship burial in Norway reveal the intimate details of Viking daily existence. Houses were carefully engineered for warmth and efficiency, with central hearths that provided heat, light, and cooking space. The wealthy could afford glass windows, a luxury in medieval Europe, while most families made do with oiled animal skins stretched across window openings. Textile production dominated women's work, but also represented sophisticated technology. The Oseberg burial included a remarkable collection of textile tools, looms, spindles, and weaving tablets that could produce complex patterns. Analysis of textile fragments from York shows that Viking Age weavers created fabrics of remarkable quality, often incorporating silk threads imported from Asia, along with local wool and linen. Food preparation required extensive knowledge and skill. Archaeological analysis of Midden's ancient garbage dumps from sites like Coppergate in York reveals diets that included not just the expected fish and meat, but also fruits, nuts, and vegetables. Vikings practiced food preservation techniques, including smoking, salting, and fermentation. The wealthy enjoyed imported luxuries like wine and spices, while ordinary families made do with locally brewed ale and preserved foods. Education happened through storytelling and practical apprenticeship. While literacy was limited to runic inscriptions, oral culture was extraordinarily rich. Archaeological evidence suggests that skilled craftspeople underwent lengthy apprenticeships. The metallurgical techniques required to create pattern-welded swords, for instance, took years to master. Young people learned through observation and participation in adult activities from an early age. Healthcare combines practical medical knowledge with spiritual practices. Archaeological examination of Viking Age skeletons shows evidence of successful bone setting, dental care, and even some surgical procedures. Grave goods often include medical tools, and some burials contain herbs and plants known for their medicinal properties. The sagas describe healers who combined practical medical knowledge with spiritual authority. Individual lives were shaped by seasonal rhythms and community obligations. The archaeological record from farming settlements shows the annual cycle of planting, tending animals, harvesting, and preparing for winter. Yet even ordinary farmers participated in larger networks. Isotopic analysis of human remains shows that individuals often traveled significant distances, suggesting that mobility was common even among non-elite populations. You stand in a modern laboratory, watching as archaeologists carefully extract DNA from a 1,000-year-old skeleton discovered in a Viking Age cemetery. The results will add another piece to our evolving understanding of who the Vikings were. Not the homogeneous Scandinavian warriors of popular imagination, but a diverse, complex society whose influence shaped the development of medieval Europe and beyond. Recent archaeological discoveries continue to revolutionize our understanding of Viking society. The 2019 excavation at Gjellestad in Norway revealed a previously unknown ship burial that promises to yield new insights into Viking elite culture. Meanwhile, genetic studies of Viking Age populations show remarkable diversity, with significant populations of Scottish, Irish, and even Central Asian ancestry in Viking communities. Modern analytical techniques allow us to read stories preserved in archaeological remains that previous generations of scholars could never access. Isotopic analysis of teeth can reveal where individuals were born and raised, showing patterns of migration and cultural exchange. Chemical analysis of artifacts reveals trade connections spanning continents, while paleo-environmental studies help us understand how climate change affected Viking Age societies. The scholarly understanding of Viking society has undergone dramatic revision over the past several decades. Where earlier historians emphasized warfare and raiding, contemporary scholarship recognizes the Vikings as sophisticated merchants, explorers, and colonists who established some of Europe's most important medieval cities. Archaeological evidence has been crucial in this reinterpretation, providing concrete data about daily life, social structures, and economic systems. Perhaps most importantly, modern scholarship approaches Viking society with greater nuance regarding questions of gender, ethnicity, and social structure. The discovery of female warrior burials has challenged assumptions about gender roles, while genetic studies have revealed the ethnic diversity of Viking communities. We now understand that Viking society was far more complex, diverse, and sophisticated than early scholars imagined. The legacy of Viking society extends far beyond their reputation as raiders. Their legal innovations, including early democratic assemblies and progressive women's rights, influenced the development of medieval European law. Their exploration and colonization efforts connected previously isolated regions, creating cultural and economic networks that persisted for centuries. Most fundamentally, their story reminds us that historical societies were composed of complex human beings, navigating challenging circumstances with creativity, resilience, and dignity. Understanding Viking society requires us to move beyond sensationalized portrayals and engage seriously with the archaeological and historical evidence. These were people who faced the same fundamental human challenges we face today: how to create meaning, build community, and survive in an uncertain world. Their solutions were shaped by their specific historical circumstances, but their humanity connects across the centuries, reminding us that history is ultimately about understanding the full complexity of human experience.